My 35M, wife 35F, keeps me awake all night if she can't/won't sleep. We have been married for 6 years. She is a Soham to our 5 and 1 year old. I am a surgeon who works 12-hour-plus days from 7 a.m., as the title says really. I should note that both of our kids are crap sleepers, particularly the second. She feeds him to sleep throughout the night and he sleeps in our bed. This has happened several times, but I will give an example. Last night we had severe winds, which she has trouble sleeping through. Because she couldn't sleep, she kept waking me up every time I fell asleep. She was getting increasingly angry, but claimed earplugs weren't working, insulting me for sleeping through the storm. When our son woke up, she then handed him to me at around 1 a.m. He absolutely hates being with anyone other than her overnight, so he hysterically cried with me for well over an hour. This all woke up my 5-year-old as well. Even after she took him back, she just continually woke me up every time I fell asleep. I think I got about an hour's sleep last night overall, which obviously is not great in my line of work. This isn't the first time this has happened. She claims I am snoring and repeatedly disrupt her sleep. If she is fed up with my son feeding, she'll just hand him to me to cry, but then take him back after an hour plus, which just reinforces the crying. She has also done this when she's just been up late on her phone watching TikToks. She also refuses to sleep train despite all this. I stay up late with her after the kids are asleep helping around the house. She constantly complains that I never watch the kids and probably relax all day at work. I don't, and don't deserve to sleep so much. I don't. I am not as good a parent as her at all, and don't claim to be, but when I'm home I do my best, and always take the kids to give her time to herself. It is getting to the point where I am exhausted. She is able to lie in with the kids till 8 nints, but I have to wake up at 5:30. I don't know what to do and how to resolve this dangerous situation. I have suggested sleeping in a different room for the snoring ets, but she said it would be unfair for me to sleep uninterrupted while she is up with the kids. My wife keeps me and the family up all night if she can't sleep for whatever reason. This is borderline dangerous for my job, and I don't know how to resolve it. I'm in love with my FWB. I met him on a dating app. He's 36, and I'm 30. We had sex the first time we met, and I knew I liked him even before I agreed to it. Afterward, we talked, and he asked if we could be friends with benefits. I agreed. In the 11 months that followed, we've only had sex 5 times, mostly when I initiated it, and he was in the mood and not working. I can't stop liking him. There's so much to say, but this is the first time in my life that I've felt safe with a man. I can actually see myself being with him. But I know he sees me as just a friend with benefits, and it's starting to hurt. I'm thinking about ending it because I don't want to be inauthentic with him. He's always been honest with me, and I don't want to live knowing that he'll never really be there for me. But I don't want to end it either. To be honest, I initiated all of our conversations. Every day, for 11 months, I've been the one to reach out first. I told myself that I wouldn't give up without trying. I wanted to find a way for him to really get to know me, and even if, after all that, he still doesn't want more with me, at least I'll have no regrets. The truth is, I love him now. I want to be with him. I want to take care of him, but I also know I have to get over him. I'm just so sad right now. My heart hurts so much. Should I stop and tell him? I fell in love with my FWB of 11 months. We've had sex 5 times, but I always initiate. I love him, but I know he doesn't feel the same. Should I tell him and stop, or keep trying? How do I tell my family I won't let my nephew, 18M, move in with me, 32F? For some context, my older brother is several years older than me. When we were children, our mother was one of those flighty hippie types who was raised rich but spent all her inheritance, then got cut off by my wealthy grandparents. She never learnt to manage her money. Every couple of months, my mother would come up with some crazy idea, like moving to Thailand to raise orangutans or move to Dubai and marry a rich gentleman. We moved around a lot as kids. She's dabbled with minor cults, but thankfully nothing too serious. I think she's just traumatized deeply and trying to cope, and desperate for attention no matter the type. Anyway, this is only relevant because I wanted to explain. My brother and I have always been close. In many ways, he was my only stability growing up, and there was definitely a lot of codependency there. And some resentment too. My mother is what people would call a boy mom, always making excuses for him, and this did him no favors. When he was in HS, he dated a girl who got him hooked on drugs. He was talented and very popular, but after that got expelled, lost his prestigious apprenticeship, and he fell into a spiral. He got a girl pregnant. At the time, I believe my mother when she said it was all the GS fault for trying to baby trap him. It was definitely not all her fault. They were only teenagers and being stupid. Fast forward a few years, I'm just about to start my final year of HS, and my brother is at rock bottom, and his most recent GF just left him. He asks our mother and I to take in his 4-year-old son, which, given what our mother was like, means he was really asking me to raise him. And I did. My mother thankfully let him sleep in her room at night, but during the day he was my responsibility. I dropped him off at daycare before school, often being late, but my teachers were incredibly tolerant. I honestly have no idea how I graduated at all. I didn't turn up some days until lunch, and some days not at all. I only had a small group of really close friends who were really understanding. I'd pick up my nephew after school, and we'd all hang out together with the toddler. My peers just ignored all this, which honestly was probably for the best. There was a couple of weird looks because my nephew looked a lot like my ex, but I was so focused on my friends and my nephew, if there was any bullying, I didn't notice it. I was stressed out, but I was happy. I didn't even go to my graduation dinner because I couldn't find anyone to take care of the baby as my mother was out of town with her boyfriend. At the time, my brother was trying to get his life back together and seeing his son only on the weekends. My nephew used to regularly call me his mom. I always tried to correct him, but he did it so frequently I don't think he understood I was only his aunt. From the ages of 4 to almost 7, I raised my nephew. I did my university degree, full-time job, and had my nephew. In some ways, this time was the happiest I've ever been, but traumatic. Seeing how my brother's life was destroyed, I decided I wasn't ever going to have kids of my own, and will never date anyone with an addiction. When my nephew was almost 7, my brother decided to take him back. He had a new GF who wanted to play happy families. Basically not work, just look after the kid on my brother's dime. I was gutted, but kinda relieved. I was 20 and I wanted to have fun with my friends. Most of them had already left our old hometown by then, and I was getting pretty lonely, only having 1 or 2 left. It was hard. At first it was good having my quiet existence back, having time to myself, but I missed the baby a lot, and seeing my brother every weekend too. Now the most I'd see them is if my brother needed a babysitter, which wasn't very frequently. Fast forward a couple of years again. My brother's GF has found a new sugar daddy and left him. He's devastated. I don't know why, considering he was cheating on her. But by this point our relationship was pretty strained. He'd stopped trying to get clean and couldn't keep a stable job. He asked me to take my nephew in again. I wasn't sure how long for, but I was willing. I'd noticed before, but now it was really obvious how messed up my nephew was. My nephew didn't seem to know the ex wasn't his biological mother, was very naughty and spoiled. I tried to be understanding, give him stability, but he only ever wanted his dad. Would cry and act out and destroy things. It was hard, and I was heartbroken because I couldn't understand where my sweet boy had gone, and trying to support my brother at the same time when my nephew was with his grandmother. When the cheating GF came back, my nephew was picked up and it all went back to how it was. Me alone, feeling like I was just waiting for my brother and nephew to call, stuck with an emotionally manipulative mother who would do or say anything for attention. I decided to move states not long after. I spoke to my brother maybe a couple times a year, and my nephew only on birthdays or Christmas. He didn't remember me after a few years. My brother, who is on the spectrum and honestly think has a very reduced ability to feel emotions, says a few concerning things throughout the years. Like my nephew brought a weapon to school and got suspended, steals, lies, and can't be trusted around animals. He wouldn't take him to therapy when I suggested it, didn't seem to think it was an issue. I'm on the spectrum too, and while emotions can be hard, this is something else. My nephew is now 18, and he messages me out of the blue and says he misses me. He wants me to help him pay to move states and to come live with me. I'm in my early 30s, have a retail business, a one-bedroom apartment and a cat. I work 10 hours a day, have no friends close by, and haven't dated anyone since my late 20s. I've actually just recently started thinking about dating again if I want to find a husband sometime this century. I've hardly spoken to my nephew in years, and I highly doubt he remembers me at all. I haven't even visited since I moved away. My mother and brother think I should let him move in, but I don't want to give up my quiet life again. Honestly, I'm just tired of cleaning up after them and want to be left alone. How do I tell them? My nephew, 18M, with issues wants to move in with me, 32F. How do I tell my family no? I am definitely not taking my nephew in. I will tell him no, but be clear that I am only a phone call away if he wants someone to talk to. A comment suggested my family may want me to take my brother's new baby in given there's some tension there, and I was in a bit of a panic trying to figure out how I would even look after a baby with my current schedule before I snapped out of it. I like kids, but no, I don't want to raise this one only for them to be taken away again. If they insist, I'll ask they test paternity, which will create its own chaos, but it's better to know. I mentioned in a comment I'm not sure if my eldest nephew is my brother's. He looks nothing like anyone on our side of the family, but by the time the biological mother left we were all attached to the baby, so I don't think it matters. I think it would break my brother and my nephew if it was negative though.